Today you could never do it. Nobody would let you do it. Nobody would let you have the freedom. The unions wouldn't let you tape that late. Everybody would be there wanting to audition. Nobody auditioned. Ruth Buzzy never auditioned. Goldie never auditioned. Gary Owens I hired in the men's room at the smokehouse. He walked in and we were both facing the tile wall and he said, "My, the acoustics." I said, "Whoa, Gary, put your thumb in your ear." "Well, why would I do?" I said, "Just do it." And I said, "I want you to be the announcer on Laughing. I want you to stand there with your hand over your ear." And Ron and Martin were a nightclub act, brilliant nightclub act, hysterical nightclub act, but hadn't really done this kind of thing. And they would come out on stage and just ramble. And I needed some way to pull it up because we didn't have the editing techniques that we have now. So Gary Owens would say, Dan and Dick would go on, and then Gary Owens would say later that same evening, and we would cut to the end of the talk piece and then go to the cocktail party. But, oh, and then the censor came down and they said, "Judy Carn's not wearing a bra." I said, "How can you tell?" They said, "Well, she's not wearing a bra." And I said, "Who cares? She's got two backs. Who's going to..." So then by the time they caught up with us, it was too late and the show was on the air. So they said, "Now next week, no more of that." You know, and it was an adventure. It was good. We did the favorite thing was the joke we did with 1969. The show went on the air in '68, and they said, "News of the future, 20 years from now, 1989." Dan Ross said, "With marriage in the church now an accepted practice, the Archbishop and his lovely bride, the former Sister Mary Catherine, both announcce this time it's for keeps, if only for the sake of the children." Well, they almost caused an explosion on the switchboard, the amount of people. But I said, you know, they said, "We got 300 calls." I said, "Well, 300 calls. The rest of the world was watching Laughing and laughing, you know, so it worked. It was utopia. It was, we had a lovely cast, great writers. Digby Wolfe, who was just one of a kind. He was a British comedian, writer. He wrote for David Frost, and that was The Week That Was, and not necessarily the news. I mean, he was just brilliant in his total irreverence. And in England, he used to say in England, they celebrated their eccentrics, and in America we concealed them. And we brought them all out and put them all on stage in front of a bright colored wall. I don't think I ever had more fun in my life. Anyhow, but then it went on and it exploded. And then Goldie, of course, just took off. And then the second year, I guess I saw Lily Tomlin. I'd done a series in New York, the Steve Lawrence Show, and it got canceled. But Gary Moore was coming in to do a new show, and there was a girl auditioning doing a barefoot tap dance, and she had like microphones on her feet, and you could hear it. I thought it was great. So anyhow, I saw her again doing a Rubber Freak, who was a girl who ate erasers, and they caught her when her husband came in, and she had a typewriter eraser with the bristles sticking out. So anyhow, that was Lily, and Lily just exploded. So a lot of it was just pure accident, you know. And then we would tape all night long. And the interesting thing was when we were doing the pilot and the show, nobody came around because they were so convinced this was a disaster. Nobody wanted to get any on them, you know. So they just never came around. Since it was all in pieces, nobody could tell whether anything we were doing was unacceptable. And the last thing we would tape was the joke wall. And because it was obviously out of control and everybody was tired, and we would tape the joke wall. And one night I remember we were taping. It's about 2 o'clock in the morning. I said, "Come on, please. We've got to get this, and we've got to get out of here. Now let's focus and everything." Okay. And so then we're starting it. Alan says, "George." "What, Alan?" "Judy's not wearing any pants." Judy Carn. And I said, hold it, cut tape. "Judy, are you wearing pants?" She said, "No, I'll look." No, Judy, don't you look. Everybody else is already looking. Is there any way we can put Judy on the bottom window? And, and so Alan says, "I liked her better up above." So, I mean, it was just absolute tumult. And then we edited that together, and we kept what was. And Carolyn Raskin, who edited Laugh-In, was brilliant and great part of our success was Carolyn. And they said, well, how did you do it? And she said, we just taped hours of material, and I threw out everything that wasn't laughing. You know. And she was largely responsible for it. She'd go down there and edit 200 physical splices in an hour, you know.
That's great. And I mean, the show exploded and kept on exploding and got bigger and bigger.
And at one point, today they're happy if you get a 3 share or something. We got 50 shares. 50 shares. The world stopped on Monday night.